Ready?
Ready. Okay, let's call to order the planning board meeting for Wednesday, November 15th, located town of Mendon Town Hall. First item on our agenda is to approve the minutes from the November 1st planning board meeting. Did everyone on the planning board have an opportunity to look over those minutes? Do we have any comments? No? Okay, no comments down at the other end of the table?
No.
Anybody want to make a motion? We approve the minutes. Charlie, seconded by.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you.
Okay, next.
No, I don't. All in favor?
All in favor.
Abstained.
Any of that? No, abstain? Nope. Okay, we're all good. Thank you, sweet.
Welcome.
Next item on our agenda is Donaldson site plan, letter of credit reconsideration and discussion. From what I understand and from what I have received from Katrina, Scott Donaldson has looked into getting his letter of credit. I'm not certain if there's problems or what's going on with it, but he's wondering if we would allow him to plant his landscape buffer now in lieu of the letter of credit, or reduce the amount of it. So that's on the table for discussion. A few things that I have found out today is that a friend of ours just haphazardly happened to mention that they went to Bristol to get some trees planted. The trees at Bristol were $250 a tree. Install was $350 a tree. And there was mileage also per trip. So if they had to keep coming back and forth, there was mileage charged. Which is why we wanted that for $10,000. Now Scott says, well, I can get the trees online. They don't cost as much. I have all the equipment. But see, the thing is, if he doesn't do it, then the town has to do it, and we're not going to be able to do it at his cost. So that's one thing. The other thing is he thought that maybe this would be a good time of the year to plant the tree. And so he had said, barring any extreme conditions like 10 below zero, if they would be fine. But I distinctly remember him saying that there's only a small window of opportunity to plant these types of trees, and that is in the spring if you want them to thrive. Other trees maybe other times of the year, but trees definitely in the spring. So that's when I sent you guys the article that I found on planting the Norway spruce, and it does say that the ideal time is in the spring, and if you do decide to plant in the fall, you should plan to do so 6 weeks prior to your first frost. So we've obviously, that ship has sailed. So those are my only comments, and those are the only things that I found out that I can add to.
Lauren, why don't you touch on your thought about in the event that the trees were planted now and didn't survive?
Oh, and here's the other thing, is that if he did plant the tree, if we said, okay, plant the trees now, we're just gonna hope that they survive. So now it's June 1st or June 2nd, and Corey goes over to inspect the trees and they didn't make it. Hello, now what? Because now we have no financial recourse. He's got his building permit and his barn is off. I mean, see where we're going? So we have nothing if he plants them now and they don't survive.
I didn't get a chance to read that article. Is that on climate?
Is
that
it was in
spring here?
Indianapolis, so not too awful far, but it said
It's a similar latitude.
it is a similar latitude. It says the best time to plant Norway spruce tree is in the spring or early fall. Try to get yours planted a minimum of 6 weeks prior to the first frost. Our first frost in Indianapolis is usually around the middle of October, so get planted soon. I mean, so that's 6 months before or 6 weeks before your first frost. So I guess it really But then they do say, once you plant them correctly, they do tend to strive and they're hardy and they grow quickly and like lots of good things about them. So they were a good choice for screening, but,
And the posting of the letter of credit is for the total landscape, which includes the grading, the seeding of grass, all the structure around the building, not just the trees.
right. So, and I really, I asked Katrina to ask him if he could possibly be here for this meeting. And if he couldn't, if he would like to come to the next meeting, because I felt that because we're talking about it, I would have liked to have had him here for his input other than just what he had sent in an email to Katrina that got forwarded on. But he wasn't able to, and Katrina, he couldn't come to the December 6th. or
He hasn't committed to one of the dates. So I have your December 6th is canceled. It's gonna have to be tentative and hopefully tomorrow I can,
But
I
we're
don't-
here,
yeah,
well, here's the
right,
thing, but we're
right,
here,
right, exactly.
right?
He knows,
And-
right.
and So we're discussing.
If you
it
need
now.
to talk to him about it,
I don't think
then
we need to talk
it-
to him about
then we
it.
don't need to worry about
I
pulling
mean,
him
I
back.
don't know. Does anyone on the board feel like we need to talk to him
I think we
about
should
it?
just maintain the resolution the way we have it, probably is the safest.
Anyone else have that?
To talk to Donovan?
I just thought if he could be here at the meeting, that it would be,
I think so too. These are major decisions now we're making.
but he couldn't be here. And he
I-
was
I-
offered,
yeah, but-
we offered him to come on the 6th and he decided, he never got back to Katrina, so it's here for us to make the decision on
Oh,
tonight.
it has to be made tonight? Yeah,
It should be made tonight.
I don't see how, I don't see how we can let that go forward.
Unless you can put a contingency that the plants be evaluated in the spring to see if they're at the right height and living and.
And then,
you
but
have
then
to
what?
see
If
about-
they're not, then
Right.
what?
Yeah.
We need to deposit.
Earl,
That's the way it is.
everyone?
Do you want to do
Would
a
anybody like,
Sooner, I feel like we could have been a little nicer about it, but. we've had
If he wants to
problems.
plant the trees, now plant them, but you're still gonna post a letter of credit.
Yeah,
right, and what, so there's so many things. At the last meeting, he said the ideal time to plant them is in the spring. I wouldn't want to plant them before the barn went up because it would be too hard to build the barn around the trees. And now, because he doesn't want to have this letter of credit, he wants to plant the trees now. It just, I mean, I feel for him, but I still think. What do you guys think?
the purpose is screening of the enormous farm, so I
A
feel
letter
like.
of credit, I'm
that
starting
is-
to get a feeling that 10 isn't necessarily enough.
I thought 10 was very generous of, kindly of us to
I
offer.
think more comfortable with 12, especially given that the price of the trees is not gonna go down by next year.
And I thought 15 was probably a better, but.
Was
Yeah.
already,
But we already did it
already
at
written
10.
up.
We already did it at 10 and I understand he's thinking it's not gonna cost me that much because I have the equipment. I can get the trees at this discount.
That's
But
irrelevant.
if that is irrelevant to what we have to do if he doesn't follow through. And it's not like we haven't been down this road with other people before. But
It's an unfortunate situation, but it has to remain the way it is.
So that closes the door on the entire project.
no, not necessarily.
Well, he can't get a permit without agreeing to the screening.
Well, so here, this is entirely up to him. So he can pursue getting this letter of credit. And from what I understand is he is working with his bank to get one. The branch manager at the bank that he's working with is not, has never come across this before. And so they're not quite sure how to do it. But he is working with them. His other option is, I mean, he does have a bunch of other acreage. He absolutely could move the barn away from the road.
Okay, so let's be firm on what we're saying his options are. His options are letter of credit or put it around back. And those are really the only two reasonable options.
Unfortunately, yes, at this point,
That gives him the flexibility of planting in the spring, which makes more sense. It's in his best interest.
it really is in his best interest to plant in the spring, and it's definitely in our best interest if he plants in the spring.
Yeah, I think that's what we should be firm with, is those two options for him.
Yeah. Does anybody want to make a motion that, the resolution for, the Donaldson site plan, remains as written?
So held.
So moved.
So moved, anybody with a sec, that was Earl, anybody with a second? Charlie, all in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? No, obviously nobody abstains. No. All right,
All right.
moving on. Our next item on our agenda, and I do not want to destroy your name. but you know
Silvisky.
what?
You can
I
try.
am absolutely going to destroy your name, so I am so sorry. Silvisky,
That's perfect.
okay. Don't worry, I'll just destroy you in other ways. Not really.
That's the first rose he brought you.
Huh?
They say you were right. That's the first rose he brought you out.
That was the first rose?
That's the first.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Okay,
Okay.
you guys can come on up to the front here if you want, just because sometimes it's easier for us to all like discuss this and. And so. Ooh,
Well, of course, we changed things.
Oh,
Just a little bit.
not that what we're looking at, we changed it.
We changed it, yeah.
Extremely minor.
You have a beautiful home, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We were lucky. Somebody else built it before. us.
I know, I know, but it is just,
They did- they did
it's
a
one of
great
my,
job.
it's one of my favorite spots on Smith Road. And and when I went by to look where you wanted to put the barn, I was like, oh, I
Well,
love
they
that
took
house.
they took the property, and they pushed it right to the back.
Mhm.
We watched it being built, because I lived on Stony Ridge Drive for the last 18 years. I
Okay,
drove by that being built. forever. And then they just, it was a nice job.
and did they move across the street
They moved back to mom's.
to Mount?
Yeah, so we're-
Dad still live there?
I guess,
No, I don't think he passed away.
Yeah.
I don't
Tom.
know, I know that she's alive. I-
He is.
I think
Tom
that
died.
She split her time between the Canada house and Florida.
Oh, so she doesn't, right, and no, well, whatever, that's none of my business, but it's nice that everybody likes to stay in Mendon and, yeah. Okay, so what did you change?
The change you'll see here is that we had the barn positioned this way. And Jim wanted to turn it this way because the doors are over here, that it keep the doors away from the street, so you wouldn't be looking at the doors when you drive by. So that's the only change. It's generally in the same location. We just turned it. You can see how much we turned it because the fence used to run pretty much straight down along the east side. So we just turned it and pushed it over just a little bit too.
I don't know if you guys can see that, or if you wanna see that. Essentially, it's rotated 90 degrees.
So if, okay, I was gonna say, so if the barn doors were on, if the doors were on this side, you wouldn't see it from this way, but you would see it. From
Yeah, we just wanted to not have the doors be seen from the road and then one in the driveway.
Or did you want just easier access?
Both, but
So this is the old
the first floor elevation, the same.
plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just one floor.
Yeah, 628.5.
632.
Oh, this
632, so we dropped it
About down
lower.
4 feet.
Yeah, we lowered it. We moved over a little bit, lowered it. It's, it doesn't look like there's much slope there, but it's a 100-foot long barn, so we have some, even at 4% slope, you've got 4-foot difference there. So we did drop it down just to reduce the amount of earthwork out there too for replacing it.
Because you have to bring earthwork on the west side of it and take it off the east side.
Yeah, we are, but we may not have enough
For the west side.
for the west side. So
Well, the lower you make it, the
The-
more it aesthetically is going to fit with the property.
it's true, and it just makes the driveway steeper.
Yes. Yeah.
So Jim, if you could tolerate a steeper grade on the driveway coming down, we could drop it even lower.
I'm also concerned about the drainage coming to your building from the rest of that. Your property from your driveway coming down.
That's why we didn't drop it too much. Right,
Right, I know, it could be a
At least too, yeah.
Fortunately, it's a very light pitch. And especially as we get out in here, it's got a nice pitch to it. I'm not overly concerned about drainage, but
So aesthetically, I mean, that's one of the reasons why you're here, right? Is because the town of Mendon really doesn't. in their code says not to have a barn forward on the property. And so the one thing I see with when you turn that is you've got 50 more feet road front.
Correct.
There's no other place on this property that this could go that would be, reasonable. I wanted you to put it over here where the trees already were, where it was gonna already be screened and hidden, but I think that might be where your leach field is.
Exactly. where they put it.
And I was like, rats on that, because that would have been a great.
It would have.
Now, we do have a tree line out there by the road.
It's basically, I say a scrub brush line.
Yeah, I
yes.
looked at
Yeah.
that today.
There's
I
not
think,
much
I think
to it.
it'd be a stretch calling those trees.
It's, I mean,
It's rough.
it is 8 to 10 feet, you know, of stuff out there.
It's all leafy stuff, though, it's not.
Box
Right.
elder and a couple of little junk trees about that big round.
So I,
You probably end up knocking it down. And putting up some, you know,
I think over time, our goal is to continue to improve the property and make it look as nice as possible. I can assure you, if we want to talk about the aesthetics of the barn itself, my wife has already made me swear that it has to look as nice as the home. So it's definitely going to match with the barn. If we end up doing anything with the scrub brush that goes along Smith Road, we certainly would not be opposed to eventually throwing in something nicer up there. If we did it, though, I'd want it to be consistent, probably along the entire property line, so that I think our priority is barn and fence. And then eventually getting to further improvement.
Since you just mentioned the fence, you might have to revisit our town code where it discusses fences, because I think along the front, it can't be 6 feet high, you know, the maximum is 4.
Oh,
They got the
You have
variance.
a variance?
I
Okay. I was gonna say, okay, all right, that's good, that's good. Just going back to the placement of the barn and, the screening and all of that. Probably from hearing our previous discussion, you know that we like to see some screening when we have situations like this. I in particular think you probably need pine trees, something to screen it on these 3 sides. At least, and in order to fit, screening buffer, you might have to actually push this in more. To the north, be able to fit those in. Because typically you like to have a row of 2, at least 2 staggered pines to make a really effective buffer. I'm not gonna design it for you, obviously, but you have someone on board, I'm sure you've done them a million times.
I think we have enough room out here without moving the barn, because again, the fence is set back 60 feet, I think, from the street, so we have a lot of room out here for a buffer. This will be kind of challenging because the barn is up above grade by several feet here, so it'll be challenging to create any kind of immediate screen in time. If we planted some trees, they would grow.
The only relevance I'd also throw out there is on Smith Road between Bloomfield and Bennett Center. I mean, I'm the only home on the north side of that road, so there's really no other neighbors or traffic.
Now, but in 50 years.
It certainly could change. Certainly could change.
What is the slope of this? Is it shallower than 1 on 3?
We drew it up as a 1 on 3.
So you do have, fabric called out for erosion?
We didn't.
Okay,
Normally we wouldn't on a 1 on 3, but we could.
It's in our town code that if it's 1 on 3,
Okay,
or greater, you need fabric, so that's also in the code.
so erosion control fabric.
Yeah,
Is that what
yeah,
you-
drainage,
okay.
yeah. Geofabric, basically, on those slopes that are greater than that. I was asking about your door locations, but you just told me they're along there.
Yeah, the intent would be the single man door and then probably 3 overhead doors
Okay,
on that north face.
if you could show like a spot elevation that shows what your slope is there at the door locations, and then just show a drainage arrow that shows that positive drainage away from the building.
Okay.
And then drainage arrows that show the direction of your, along the swale, your drainage, generally where the water's going to.
Do you have a sketch of what this proposed barn is going to look like?
Do not have a sketch, and the main reason was I wanted to make sure I got through this variant process before I started working with architects to come up with the drawing. Essentially, I was just gonna match the facade of the house with probably 4 feet of stone underneath and just a similar color on the upper levels.
We probably have to see something,
An elevation.
And what
Yeah.
materials is called.
you know, and actually, you know, a drawing, a stamp drawing. So let me jump aside here. Are we concluding that there's no room out there to do that?
With that property, they did an amazing job basically building the yard in such a way that it was really family friendly and suitable for kids. There's a playground and a zip line and things like that there. There was future designs for pools and stuff like that that we probably won't contemplate, but the short is I mean, this is the area that my daughters are 7 and 9, and this is where they play all the time. It's also, it's higher, so I mean, it just continues to go up the hill, and that's our view shed. It's very nice. It was one of the elements why we bought the house. Unfortunately, I don't feel that we could ever put a barn there, so that would essentially just kind of take it off the table.
And what about over here? Back up in here.
This right here is the most flat. It's also the most conducive from a driveway standpoint, whereas back here has more pitch. It currently is being farmed. I was kind of hoping to let the farmer continue to farm that, and this would minimize it.
Yeah, we've got steep grade coming down from the existing driveway at your garage, so that's tough to negotiate. One of our concerns was getting access to it, so this was a very convenient access and reasonable grade to get down to the barn. This, I'm not saying it can't be done, but it'd be much more challenging. We've got a pretty good slope up here to overcome.
Anybody have any questions?
Are there any other utilities going in there besides the electric?
Just electric.
No water or anything like that? The well that's there, the abandoned well, was that actually sealed, professionally sealed, you know, is it all taken care of?
Not where they were seeing that. They drilled 3 wells, mainly because this well just pumped out salt water, so they put in 2 different ones back here.
Typically, if it's an abandoned well, they like to fill it with clay or something like that, so it doesn't contaminate the surrounding area. If they're using the same aquifer, other wells in there. So I don't know, I think that would be something that we might have to make sure of. That it's taken care of properly.
It may still be. I don't want to say active, but I mean, you may be able to just drop a pump down in there if you want to do long irrigation or something.
And I think that might have been why they left it. I haven't gotten all the details on that one yet. But it is very possible.
Yeah, but we don't.
Either way, I wasn't, my intent wasn't, I was not gonna disturb any of that, so that was why we took that driveway, we brought it. There's, not only is the well here, you got a transformer here. I'm sorry, the transformer here and the wellhead.
About lighting, have you thought about if you're, have lighting on the building or?
Certainly open to suggestions. I would like to do lighting bare minimum on the north side. And if anything, maybe something subtle on the east and west side. As far as on the south side of the barn, I'm pretty much at your, whatever you guys would prefer.
Do you know what the pitch of the roof will be?
Hadn't really thought about it. I was probably going to something lighter than the house, but just a standard.
Were you thinking of a cupola?
No. It's a big
What's the inside clearance of the building inside? 16 foot? You do steel or wood? Out of the siding structure.
To be determined because of pros and cons of both. So I haven't exactly made that decision. I'm leaning towards wood, but there's definitely a play for metal.
Wood's gonna get you down to maybe a 312 pitch, and steel's gonna get you down to 112.
I wouldn't probably do much less than a 312 pitch. I don't think I would want to do less than a 312. But 112 pitch is pretty lucky.
common and steel.
Why don't we say for the purpose of this group, let's plan on wood. Going steel, I don't think is justified.
Are you talking about the roof sheathing or the siding?
The structure,
Structure.
instead of wood post, steel, concrete foundation all the way around.
In stick frame it?
Well,
Stick framed as opposed to post and big post.
but no, a steel frame, so steel siding, I mean, basically a steel building, a
Okay.
steel barn. Exterior would look identical, so there'd be no change whatsoever, whether we do a pole barn style, which is post or a steel style. So if town said that they would prefer to have no lighting on that south side, we're okay there. If the town said we want some lighting.
I think the
Yeah.
thing with,
Oh,
sorry. You can take a look at what our restrictions are on lighting. It's in the town code section. Basically, what we worry about is shielding it properly, so there's not glare, so that it's not, the proper lumen output and all that. So you can choose to put it where you want. It's just a matter of not infringing on the neighboring properties. And also, we like to, mounting heights are important because the higher you go, the more it spreads. So that might be something that you would have to put on your next plan.
Curious, why you do 16 foot high in size?
So, the wife and I traveled the country in a large RV. For a couple of years until we got pregnant and parked the RV instead. And I never had to park it in there. They sat at the back of my driveway for some years. So one of the goals would be, and hence the 50-foot down, would be to be able to fit an RV. 14-foot door is going to require a bare minimum of 15-foot ceiling, like a clear ceiling, but just go right to 16. So that was the justification, so we could get an RV to be able to store it in that property.
How high is the RV?
Well, biggest RV out there is 13.5, which would require the 14-foot door. Ours was 13.
14 foot, so right, you have to have a minimum of a 15-foot wall.
Yeah, correct. So
And
the
you think what
design
would be the width of your door?
probably 10 to 12.
You could probably carry your roof load with a 12-inch micro lamp, so 15 foot would probably work.
You just have to have at least a foot of clearance for the door. So the overhead door, if it's 14, needs an extra foot above it for the door to come up.
And there's usually light.
So if you went with a 3-pitch, you're riding 3 inches. 25 times 75, and so 6, so 7 feet, so your building would be approximately 15, 23, 26 feet.
When you noted the height of the proposed, that was to the ridge of the roof,
What do we have on that?
30 feet is what you've got. 35 is max, but
Right.
I must, it has to be to the ridge.
I think
Just
we-
making sure it's not the
We
plate.
weren't sure.
Okay, all right,
Just to be safe, to let you know that it's less than the maximum allowed.
okay.
So it'll probably be much less from what I'm hearing.
Mhm.
I do think Charlie's probably, his math is probably right, probably in that 23. Ish, it would be 23, 24.
Well, I rounded high because now you've got a truss sitting on there, but before you take off at 3 inches a foot, you've got the rides of the truss. So things add up, so I'm,
And depending on the design of the truss, it's called heel height at the base where it's mounted. Some of them are 18 inches to 2 feet where it sets on your wall,
right.
where it starts.
So it could be
So
as
that's
much as
what your another
25
8
feet.
feet up higher would start.
There's just one other thing that I had on the project information where you talk about the floor area. I think the 1,200 and 1,500, that's actually not applicable for this. What's more important for the accessory structures is that doesn't go over 2% of the lot area. And it doesn't, you're
Right,
fine. It's
right.
just if you could note it correctly on there. And that's in the town code too, where it tells you that. I would just put NA for minimum floor area, because there's no minimum really. It's a maximum, and that's 2% of the lot area. So you gave us a lot area, it's, I think 10 acres or something.
Yeah, it is.
So you could just show that, just so that someone looking at it quickly sees that. it
Okay.
complies.
And you do know that if you move it back, we don't have as much to say about it. Right?
If we moved it all the way back, we wouldn't be here.
Wow, that's what I'm saying, is that like, you know what, like, so we're having you jump through a lot of hoops because you want it in the front.
It's kind of like in the front on steroids. It's.
It is,
It's
it's
not like
pretty
we
big,
had them where it's, just forward of the house. This is like.
way forward on the road. Big large building is going to look like another house. Right? It's going to be bigger than a lot of people's homes.
It's gonna be intrusive on your neighbors across the street.
Mhm.
And I'd be happy to get a letter from them saying, okay,
That would be good.
Your neighbor across
Yeah.
the street.
yeah, I have one neighbor across the street, they're basically kitty corner over here. and-
Oh,
So if this is Smith, the one neighbor area is over here, interestingly enough, I think they're also intending to at some point ask you for variances, but they're going forward. of their- But we're on great terms with them and they'd be happy to write something to say that it's not gonna bother them, just as we would have no problem if they were to put a barn over here. I would certainly welcome you to, you're welcome to drive the property and drive into the circle during day hours, please.
yes, right.
And just take a look because you'll see that it's going to be extremely challenging when you see the driveway and the slope. And I mentioned the RV and the road the driveway I had at Stony Ridge Drive. I couldn't get my RV in and out easily because I would drag the bottom. So I would just be concerned about if I have to drive, if the driveway came off of here. I think this would be too steep for me to navigate something with a large over, rear overhang. So we just kept dragging the back of that motor, where this would be a much better grade. But look at it and I stood out there for many, many hours trying to figure out where could I put this that would be better. And it didn't work easily.
Sorry.
Just looking at this quickly, I know you want to avoid the well, that obviously makes sense. And you want to avoid this.
Well, and most importantly, there's a transformer here. So this is what you're not seeing reflected. There's a large bed of brush that's basically in hiding that transformer. So that has to stay clear.
Mhm.
This kind of has to stay clear.
I was just thinking if this could almost in a way just be mirrored. And to try to clear as much of this, basically sneak the driveway into this part so that you could at least get this back a little bit. If you could take that and just mirror it there, it's still, not too steep over here. This would be a little trickier to get there, but I see the reasons why you put it where you put it. You have some constraints on the site, but be nice if you could explore tucking it back a little bit more if possible. It's just so massive. It's really
It
going to be
is.
very overbearing.
What is the square footage of the house? I just out of curiosity compared to the front.
8,000.
Eight?
Too big.
Eva, is it a 2-story or 1.5 story?
It's essentially, it's a one story with a office above a bar, above a down.
Okay,
So there is a second story.
yeah, it did look like there was a 2nd story.
And so I think on the tax maps, it's 6,800 number stuff. The bonus or whatever.
Okay, so the actual house itself is 6,800 square feet and then the bonus room on top. So we're, like we said, essentially, this is another house, side of a house going down there in the front.
Considering where the property lays, this is just a commentary. I drive by all the time. I'm not opposed to where the barn is. Because of where all the obstacles are. What I'm concerned about is the facade of what it's gonna look like, and I think that's probably unfortunately another meeting.
That's fair.
We did get burned on someone else's barn that brought plans with stone and matching your stone beautiful house, and it's a pole barn. So, that's my concern.
I think it would be fair to ask for elevations, and I don't know.
Is there any way you could give this barn, this building character? By either a porch, something to change the overall configuration set of a brick setting down here, massive block.
Yes, and those thoughts have gone through my mind quite a bit. And the engineer Aaron me continues to look at this, trying to figure out what can I do now. Interestingly, I think the part that the town is gonna be most concerned with is this east and west facing. That's really gonna be the high visibility.
Right.
And I think turning it 90 degrees from what your drawings show actually kind of minimize that footprint as you're approaching it from east or west. Anything that I would do is probably going to be in this area near where the man door is. So even if I took and came off of here with something that, was a little bit more of a cover, I don't know if you're gonna get the visibility. So that leads you to, you could put something, I don't know what they're called, on the roof, when they take that and put. Yeah, we do something like that on the roof to throw it a little bit of a character. It wouldn't necessarily match the style of the home, but
I don't believe they would help you any, maybe for ventilation.
I'm open for ideas. I guess.
You're also shooting yourself in the foot because you're making something that's very taller.
Typically, people would sell lights too, and there's dark sky component, so.
But we could certainly contemplate windows on the east and west side. You said they do want to see some character on the sides of it.
I've also seen windows that weren't windows.
Yeah.
It's a black, it's not a real window.
Yeah, I have them on the second story.
That's not what I've seen.
So. So you guys are so much better at this, and I'm just looking, but to move this, you want to avoid this area right in here with the driveway. Right, correct?
Well, that transformer,
Yeah.
see
Right.
that XFMR right there? That's a transformer right there.
So you couldn't bring the driveway just in a loop, I mean, in a. A backwards J shape and get that barn up in here. No, that wouldn't,
But it could put the driveway attached in here and come across that way.
well, he doesn't want to go between the well and the transformer. So it would have to, his driveway would have to come in, well, you know what I mean, it would have to come somewhere like this. So that it was over in this area.
Why couldn't it be here and come in here and tee off of here instead of here, tee off here?
Oh, that's an idea too,
So,
but I know he wants easy access, so,
do you see that pitch right here where all these lines are very tight?
right,
That drops off quite a bit as opposed to over here. And this is just the flattest area right now in my way. Because we're up on top of that hill. Whereas over here, it'd be wonderful to really come off this driveway. But it just drops off.
right, so you don't want to, so up here is not where you'd want to come at it, you wouldn't want to,
I love that you have
access from
that.
up here. But if you had it from down here,
Do
where
you
you've already got this part of the
do you
driveway,
think this could move? Some
And then-
reasonable amount? I mean, I don't know what that is, but.
I mean, obviously the fence would have to move a little bit and those kinds of things, but
I mean,
it would
that
get it
is
back
doable.
in, it would get it up back into this area. Because I think when a lot of times we're looking at this where your fence line is, but not necessarily where your lot line is. So you still have all this other area over here that this barn could actually be moved up into.
I mean, you're talking about moving a lot more earth. It's been done before. You might even have to have a retaining wall someplace to get you over into this gentler slope.
Is that the area that's being farmed currently, or is that?
It is. It's not a showstopper. We want to have as much of it farmed as reasonably possible.
I think the overall optics of the property would be more pleasing with it back here. Like it belonged. That's just my personal.
I was kind of thinking that,
agree.
yeah, I kind of had that same
It's
thought,
kind
that
of lost up
it's gonna just, it's gonna be nice for you because it's gonna be from your vision, you're not gonna really have too much of sighting of it, and you're gonna be able to have all your stuff here, but this is almost, I mean, you could subdivide this up and put a house there, right? So, I don't know, we're just trying to stay within what the town code says. And we're trying, not to say you have to put it behind your house, you know what I mean?
I do.
So we're trying to think, we really, I think as a board, and I don't want to just speak for everybody all at once, so jump in, guys. But as a board, I think we're not super comfortable with these big 5,000 square foot barns being at the road. We have no problem, we understand that in many instances, they do need to be forward of the home. When you have a bigger home and a lot of property and you have it farm, like that's where we live, so I totally get that. But being able to squeeze it over, get it over into here is probably a more desirable. It's just probably more desirable for everybody. Except you. You're just
It can
saying,
be done. The driveway will just be a little convoluted to get over there, because I think we need to hold this driveway location to get down there. I mean, we can look at trying to come down through here, and maybe the grade wouldn't be too bad, but you can move back, we could.
If, I'm happy to go and let's go look at it, and maybe you can help me try to figure out how much earthwork that has to happen to make that. And you certainly don't have problems with retaining walls and stuff like that. I'd rather not, if we don't have to do retaining walls. So, if we have to, we do. Let's see what we can do.
If it moved, you would still want the alignment like this, you know, so you can have the doors on the north
I think in
side.
that case, you'd want to turn it back to the original.
I would think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's easiest to drive.
So that you could,
It doesn't matter that much to me. I do think though that I was trying to get it so that we couldn't see the doors from the road, so that nobody from,
Right.
no matter which way you're driving could really see those doors.
and with it setting back a little bit further and some screening, it probably would be a little different, do you think? Do you know what I mean? Like the visual part of it from the road would be a lot different if it was back.
We just need enough room so I could get something reasonably large to come in there and back in. That's all, to get access to it. So if it moved this way, it just means I'm coming around and kind of.
well, that's why I said, but I think you'd want to go back to being perpendicular to the road.
Right, if you moved
And when
it,
you tee off your driveway, you're going straight. It would actually be a simpler arrival at your building than what you have now, I would think.
Well, I didn't decide that building. We was back in, but
Oh, I
we're still.
Right.
or here,
You have no plans to put a bathroom or anything down there? Really? Okay.
and other than storing, an RV that you don't have yet, right? You don't have it yet,
We're waiting on the barn for
if the barn, okay, but are you gonna use the barn for anything else?
tractors,
Just
Cars.
just your stuff?
toys.
Yeah, I got a big barn filled with all kinds of that stuff.
That's part
Yeah, they're always
So
too
it's
small,
okay.
aren't they? Yes, we're already talking about a second barn. So, what do you think, Glenn? You think you can work your magic?
We can work something out. I think we'll get out there and look at it again and see if we can come up. I'm not sure exactly where it will end up falling. Yeah, I think it's still gonna be in the front yard, of course.
Well,
but-
of course.
If
It's
you
gonna
would
be
eat
back-
it with, or even just a little bit forward of the house, that'd be one thing. That would be a lot easier for us to digest.
I understand it. I have a feeling that's gonna be challenging. But let's see. Let's see when I can.
There'll be some,
The grading is.
there'll be some, I built houses on a flat piece of property and carved out a walkout. I mean, a guy can move a lot of dirt with a dozer in a day. So that can all be, that's almost a non-issue. You might have to have a retaining wall if you wanted to, have some flat closer to the house, but you can play with grade quite a bit. Did you say, Earl?
There's a lot of background at the board.
What do you mean?
I mean, the experience of the people here is not shown on the names here.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, I saw it. We know.
I assume you're talking about.
I know, I was gonna say, no, it's me, but can't you just make it go around like this?
The orientation of this split back, you're gonna minimize your amount of screening this way. You're gonna expand your view forward because you split this back.
That is that, now that you say that. So we have a big, large property where we live and we have a neighbor up in front. And they had a house here and they put their barn just about here. And the one thing that just always to this day bothers us is that it just totally took away our view. It's a beautiful barn. It matches the house. Actually, people come down the driveway and they think it actually is a house. But for us back here, it took away our view.
Is your orientation there and take away your view?
Our view is 100% to the north. There's
Out.
basically, there's nothing.
Out your front, you don't really, you
The
both,
way-
you
the way
basically
that-
go,
The
yeah,
way that they designed this, so they did a good job. But this is
that's your view.
I was ultimately trying to minimize this hill, because I don't want to have to navigate steep hill to get to it. That was the main thing that I kind of challenged.
Actually, this area here, Jim, is flatter. Maybe we should be looking at that. Flat area.
Well, it is, I was looking at that too, I'm like, well, nope.
It's steeper, but it's not crazy steep. It can be manipulated. The grade can be manipulated. So I
You're
think-
absolutely right.
I think it's something that you can definitely work with.
And of course, if you wanna move your septic and your leach field way over here, and then the trees that are there, you could just put the barn right over there.
I thought there was a question on this environmental assessment form that asked the placement of the building would affect views from the road if people were driving, any substantially beautiful vistas.
Yes,
And I can't find it. I thought I highlighted.
you know what, and it is in the code too about the.
Maybe it was in the
vistas.
code, and so that's a pretty drive down there. Those open fields and farm fields and everything, so it wouldn't have that. And then, just for the heck of it, I'm probably interpreting this wrong, but
Oh,
I'm
you
just
sure did.
curious. You checked yes, that there's public transportation?
You know what, that has happened on a couple of ours
That's the
before.
first time.
And there-
But it-
Uber.
Pardon me? There's always public transportation. Now you can hire a Uber or whatever. So if it's available, you don't need a car.
Right, I've seen that checked a couple
Yeah, a
of
couple of
times.
times and I, yeah.
Well, there's
Never
also
seen a
the
bus.
Services too that will pick up, you know.
We can
you
assume
call
that there is no
every other-
public transportation.
School bus. I don't think there's no.
Well, Uber's not public transportation,
That's
right?
RTA, but
Well, there are those ride services, the buses. I don't know what they have up here in Mendon.
The Medicabs. That's pretty much all we have in Mendon. Oh dear, but yeah, here in the, in our zoning, it says impact of the site plan, we've seen it discussed. So you're right, it's, 26060,
do take a drive.
AI.
Do take a drive. If you're gonna have anything scenic, it's gonna be over here to the east, because over here, you're just going to basically see a hill. My hill.
And, the only other thing, is the proposed action consistent with the predominant character of the existing built or natural landscape? You can check yes, but we would need a rendering, a drawing to be able to agree with that.
I'm happy to proceed with that, especially if you guys are saying that as long as we can get it moved in a reasonable fashion, and get a rendering that the group would like, I mean, I'll proceed and we'll go and I'll hire somebody to get the elevations done and make it, we know it's.
And how do you guys feel about having screening to this barn?
I would like screening, but, moving it back, I think is gonna minimize the amount of screening you need to the west.
Right, so, and that would involve, some type of a landscape plan. I just want to tell you, like, now, so you don't have to come back a third time. Some type of landscape plan showing us, the types of trees that you would like, that kind of their positioning.
So I did have a chance to audit the discussion on the previous topic, so to tell us what would the board like to see? Because right now, this is up the entire Smith Road is a consistent scrub brush the whole way, so I don't think you're probably gonna want me to go scrub brush all, and then all of a sudden here's some beautiful arborvitae's, then it just changes back to scrub brush.
Arborvitae's are not beautiful.
Well, whatever, you know, evergreen pines, spruces.
Yeah, pines, I think the last project we had recommended Norway spruce, which is good, variety.
You're talking about if the placement is where it's drawn?
No, even if it goes back, we should still have some.
Oh, I think if you go back, I think that. I don't think you need really to do anything at the road. I think just a few trees planted in the proximity of the building. And I wouldn't hire a landscape architect to do that. They could be added to your blueprint.
Well, I would say that it's, even if we do move it back, which is a great compromise, it still will need some screening, in my opinion, in the form of staggered pine trees. I'm sure you know what standard berms look like, not berms, scratch that, standard plantings.
If you're trying to hide the barn, is that the intent, hide the barn?
There's no way to hide it, really. In 50 years.
Would you
it will
want,
be
would you
concealed.
prefer, I mean, it's gonna be a nice looking building, it's gonna be moved back, would you prefer to enhance it with some landscape?
Nice, Glenn. No, we're trying to keep our rural appeal here.
But this is a barn, barn's rural, there's lots of barns.
But he just said he's gonna make it look like the house.
How is it? I mean, I know the screening, you put up the screening, the staggered evergreens, whatever, it takes time for them to grow in unless you put them in too close together
No,
where they
Yeah.
outgrow their space. And all I'm saying is, when you do that, it looks like you're trying to hide something. And
Not if it's done that correctly. It should be a naturalistic.
there, you can take that for
Sort of,
your,
Is the intent of the screening to hide the barn?
as best as possible.
Okay, all right.
As,
That's-
you know,
that's fine.
within,
That's-
obviously it's not gonna hide it entirely, but as you're driving down the road, your eye isn't just gonna hit this building. You know what I mean? Your eyes, it's just,
I don't think you're gonna accomplish anything, respectfully in having trees near the road. You're approaching from a distance. You're seeing the trees and then way to the left, you'll see the building.
So I'm not gonna design it for you, but for instance, just putting a row of trees here will not do anything for you.
No.
What you would like to do ideally is in more of a naturalistic, something like this, like a U shape that kind of goes like that. And it can be a mix of deciduous and pine trees. To make it more attractive.
But with the building back here, you don't want the trees up this way.
Right, I'm just
Yeah,
using
right.
that as an example. I don't know where your placement is gonna be and how that
Right
would
here.
work out. But yeah. But basically, it would be a more of a naturalistic berm that kind of, not berm, I keep saying berm, no berms.
no
I'm not a fan of
berms, are
berms.
not a berm.
Plantings. So it can be a mix. It has to be predominantly pine trees so that it is a true buffer in the winter. You can mix deciduous and shrubs and whatever you want to do to make it pretty. But we're looking for something that's more naturalistic, not just a straight line of pines, because that will look unnatural.
There goes our vista. We've just blocked it.
But the view is back there, not
I
at the road.
know, but I've heard that, that the barn is going to block the vista. Now we're going to just end up doing it with these trees that.
Architects do when they have a bad looking building is they plant trees.
Yes, they do.
And not that we think, not that we are at all saying yours is going to not be attractive.
Self-storage, we do it all the time.
Here's what you might wanna do. If you come back with a drawing,
Then we can discuss.
and on that drawing, you plop a few trees, allowing us to say, that's great, that's too many, that's not enough kind of thing.
Right, once it's
It-
there, we
it's
can
back
work
here.
with it.
I don't think that you should be obligated to screen it if it's not in violation of the forward of the house.
Oh, it'll still be.
But it's still gonna be, it's going to be forward of the house.
The proportions though, there, you know, there's gonna be what, 350 feet between it and the road instead of.
Well, we can look and see. Maybe we can see what
I'm
happens.
not opposed to putting in trees, I'm not. The only thing I'm just gonna make sure that we call out that I don't want it to look inconsistent, because I have. I mean, a tremendous amount of road frontage, and if all of a sudden we just have these sprinkling of trees here. I think it'll just look,
They don't have,
Different.
the trees don't have to be
That's
right up
all.
against the road. They could be on your property and scattered to basically ground the building. Create that buffer. It can be beautiful things. Drive up and down Clover Street, you'll see some beautiful examples of nice, well-done buffers.
I see the trees too, in addition to that, as if you have lighting in the barn, sometimes if you're driving, the light's gonna be blinding, that the trees can just
Good
block
buffer.
like that. Yeah, I see it more as an aesthetic.
That's
Once
a
we
good
see
point.
the
Yeah.
outside of
Sure.
the facade of the barn, that can be strategically placed where you plan to put lighting.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, this, it's close. to
do you wanna shape any type of input on facades of barns? Is there any facades we do not wanna ever see, and some that we do wanna see?
I think what you said to match the house is a great idea. That, I think.
The house is
smart.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, keeping consistent with the barn.
Not like.
Have you seen the barn on Taylor Road, Taylor near Chamberlain? You know,
No.
that estate that's just
No, I'm not.
blow your mind. Go down Chamberlain, you know what I mean?
By Semmel?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit east of Summit.
Mhm.
It's the most beautiful barn I've ever seen. In fact, they were in here. They wanted to,
Cooks.
Yeah.
That's Cooks.
Yeah.
they've got stone.
Yeah.
That's quite a,
Oh, that.
Oh, get busy, Glenn.
Poor Glenn.
We just- Okay, so
I just want to clarify, when I say match the house, I don't mean it doesn't have to be matchy, exactly. The characteristic, the character of it.
sort of in the same.
Yeah, no,
vein.
it's pleasant.
Done with cedar and I'm.
No, and don't try to be exactly, because it's not gonna be exact, but the character, the spirit of it, the same detailing, similar detailing.
Okay.
And
Okay,
again, you don't have to have you don't have to get a landscape drawing and a blueprint. You can plop your intentions onto your blueprint and then we can go from there.
right, and you don't, you know, and you don't have to go crazy with it either, because we can always ask you to add. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to put, if it's on there, then you don't want to have to take them off. Right? It's easier to just add them, like the person who was here the last time, a couple weeks ago, we had him just draw some extra spots where he was gonna put some more trees and we had him
Yeah.
put his signature.
Yeah.
So we can always add. So,
I trust we're okay with the trees being outside the fence line, so the trees would. be,
yes,
Yeah.
You know, in this area, not on the steep slope, so.
right. Well, if that's what you want, I mean, you want them on the outside of the. Well, so you think about it and you decide what you want.
With what you presented here or with moving it back?
let's moving it back.
Well, we got this, I think we both, Glenn and I got the sense that you want to move back.
And I, you know, I think the, how it's situated is up to you, but I would think that as it is here would make, again, you'd have to arrange some way to be able to turn around and back in.
You will have, that will be a bigger visible piece. So if you drive east and west, you're gonna have you're gonna see 100 feet as opposed to 50 feet. So that would be the only counter argument that we can think through. I'm okay with it either direction. It's a functional storage.
Yeah,
utility.
that's up to you.
Whatever works better for you, but I do agree with you, this actually minimizes the view, right? Having, just to see the.
It does. It also prevents us from having to turn around this way and
Yeah.
back in. So I was just trying to minimize, if you notice, when Glenn redid this, there's no parking over here on this side. There's none on the back. There's a little bit of gravel here so I can just back in, turn around. So we were just trying to be at least respectful of eyeballs up and house.
Now, if we move, as we move this back, that'll be a difficult.
It gets harder and harder, yes.
That'll be
I,
difficult.
and for that matter, I don't know how you guys would feel about it sitting like that.
No,
You know,
Better.
Now you can't see.
I think it actually works better with the geometry of your house if you.
It might.
Yes,
Yeah.
actually, yes, you are right.
There's your challenge.
So we can make that work.
I think it's good enough with the post-it on it, right? I mean,
Do your homework on your builder contractor.
Yeah.
Do you have someone in mind?
You're looking at.
Oh, you're gonna do it yourself? Excellent. My husband builds all our stuff too.
I run a small construction company. I'm a perfectionist.
You do? Which construction company?
ATS management.
JTS Management? Okay.
So every time I hire people, I just get frustrated. So we just do it.
Yeah,
ourselves.
well, yeah. Are you commercial or are you, a commercial builder?
And I'm building, but we renovate and manage.
Oh, very nice.
This is easy.
Okay. Well, so you have you know exactly what you've got the vision, you know.
And I've always wanted to put up a metal building. I don't know if I can justify it here, but I always wanted to.
I used to do that.
Oh, yeah,
That was one of mine, yeah.
always seemed like fun. Back from when I was a kid playing with your records. Both them together.
Sounds like the board is okay, go with the skewed line.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Anything
Absolutely.
that brings that up away from the road is,
I think we match this angle, not just
It,
a random.
it
angle.
matches the angularity of the house. You know, that question.
Yeah. Match that angle, that would be. Okay.
So Glenn, you know, I need everything a week before the next possible meeting, right? By noon. I know, but we've got
Okay.
time because
When's the
November's
next meeting?
December 6th. So I gotta look at a calendar. I didn't bring my little doohickey. So the 6th would put us, oh, that's January, my bad. I would need it the 29th by noon. So that gives you,
It's like elevation.
I mean, it's 2 weeks. You've got two, because November's longer for some weird reason. Because
We may be able to.
it's, if not, we're gonna be on December 20th.
It's gonna be up to the architect here.
Yeah.
See what he can pull
Okay.
together, 'cause I think
Just-
that's probably
Sure.
more important than what I
Snow
got
loaded.
here.
You
So,
posted.
40 pounds.
Just move it. Okay, just,
There'll be no mechanical, but yeah.
One thing that might be helpful is if you could just, we can look online too, so maybe we don't need this, but pick up on this. Just check the house, so we can compare it with what they're putting, but. We can't do that.
Okay. So are there any questions about what you'll be coming back with, for the next meeting?
Think so.
You don't wanna know about the Norway spruce, I guess. I'll just-
We should be good. Fine tune the building, the grading, the elevations, building elevations, position, obviously, lighting.
Do you have any problems with metal siding over brick?
I don't think
As
so.
long as the colors.
Color works with everything. And then,
Purple,
just,
okay.
you know, just
That's good. We do have a
show
purple
some
house in
trees,
Mendon.
so
pink, I like pink.
Yeah.
show what your landscape intentions are, sort of, kind of.
Thank you, guys.
And I love this. On the angle like that, I'm just all about it now. I'm just, yeah, okay. Away from the road.
Well, but the angle does give us a better opportunity to make the driveway work.
We may end up having to push it closer to the lot line to get just that.
Yeah, just not 20 feet.
As long as we're within that setback, I think we'll be okay.
You know, I told you to snuff that forward.
I saw it.
Please just move it back.
Take a picture.
All right, thanks for being
Thank
so,
you.
Yeah.
listening to us and working with us here and,
It's a process, we get it.
it
You
is.
guys have an important job with it.
Oh,
You mentioned it.
I know, we're missing it, well.
When you come back.
Well, we got pretty soon, we went to Charleston, we just came from 12 minutes, we went to Penny, and we really love it, they really do.
Yeah.
I've heard such good things about planning.
It's a unique school, it really is. Well, we didn't know what to do.
Oh, Finney?
We looked at it.
Yeah, well, my daughter went to, Glen Christian, so we were big rivals with Finney.
Yeah, I went to HFL, so.
I was trying to-
Yeah.
I'll let you take that.
All right. You want to teach that? You can put it on your one. I gotta go lose phone, so.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
And you'll just touch base with Katrina.
I will.
Be in
About getting
touch.
back.
Yeah.
She was-
Oh, yeah, I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye. Bye.
All right, what's next on our agenda?
General, just no, public comment,
Where am I?
public comment, you're on.
Public comment?
Yeah.
Who's my paper?
You want one? Yeah,
Did.
I had an extra for Brent, so you
Okay,
can,
well, public comment.
no, that was a horrible shot. Thank you.
What'd you think, Ron? If he's zoomed in, like.
He's right there. He's-
Oh. You sneak in?
He's been
You
here.
can Be here.
He's been here. I was told you were zooming in.
He's here.
Hate that podium.
Me too. I know. I can move that.
I don't, that's strong. That's a strong statement. I
You dislike its
it, and I
location.
would Feel more
I
comfortable and
will-
open with our
I will-
public. if
yes.
it Was over there.
I will begin to move it over there. It was here for town board and I believe it there it remains. So I apologize. I've never, I'll move it next time.
Okay, it's okay. So, is there any public comment, Mr. Public? No.
You can go.
General discussion. Katrina brought to my attention today. Did you bring, I'm gonna bring a copy of that with you?
No.
Oh.
I got it from
on my phone.
Corey. I thank you.
She sent me, a letter that had been sent to an applicant back in 2003. And I don't know when, and maybe, the public back there would know when the board stopped doing this, but bear with me for a second. Because I
Want me
use
to read it?
email on my
Here, I can
phone,
give
and
it.
it's very difficult.
Here, I can do it under my sense.
Oh, here it is, right?
Okay.
Okay, so there is something that had been called back in 2002. An application review letter. And it went like this. It was addressed to the applicant. Dear sirs,
Hmm.
the Town of Mendon Planning Board has a process of assigning a lead reviewer to each applicant who will be coming before it for approval. The intent of having a lead reviewer is to help ensure that all the information required by the planning board and other agencies is available at the required time. Additionally, information on questions the applicant may have or the planning board may have can be expedited through the lead reviewer. Your lead reviewer for your application will be contacting you prior to your scheduled meeting with the planning board. Frank Bruns, whoever,
Strunspall.
oh, you know, you were here
Brunstetter,
2003, will be your local reviewer. He can be contacted at blah, blah, blah. So, do you know what that was about and how that it's no longer an option?
That happened through 2004 and 5. I was the reviewer a couple times, but Mr. Boyd had advised the board at one point that we as a board had to assess the applicant as it came in, as everybody else would, that we could not go to a site and meet with people. We had to accept it all right here.
But that goes against our code. Because a pre-application meeting is usually required,
But it's here. But
but in the code, it says it should be on site.
Yeah, you,
Okay, we're going back to 2003, so we don't need to argue about that,
but
but if you want
there's nothing
to.
wrong with
If
that.
you want to,
It would stop all this.
right.
right,
Cause I check for completion of the application to make sure all that, but I can't be in all your heads of all the things you're gonna look at. So what that would do would give a chance to avoid multiple meetings
Mhm.
where, if each of you took the turn, went through the application, looked at, okay, well, we're gonna need this, this and this. And, cause you, as you said tonight, you all are very, very well versed with a lot of great background that I just don't have. I could
Okay,
check
you could have
grammar.
done this down for me. Are you saying that
Yes,
you have somebody not within the group, But an outside.
No, with the group.
Like
Oh,
you would
okay.
take the next application that came through and you would
So
go through and like,
basically
these are gonna be
first-
the concerns that we're definitely gonna be having. Yeah.
So if I'm the
But-
reviewer,
but
I'm gonna
who's
go and
looking
get all this stuff out of the way,
Right.
so that when the person does come before the board.
You got one coming, don't worry.
I know, but what I
But
was,
doesn't that,
I was gonna say that kind of, that defeats the purpose of having the board though,
But
because.
to get everything out of the way, it advises him the path to take. So the decision is not made.
So they show
This is
prepared.
what they're looking
Yes.
for to get them guided in the right direction.
and then they come before the
Well, then
board.
come before the
So in
board.
a case like this, would the lead reviewer say, listen, we're not gonna want it, well, you can't say we're not gonna want it in the front.
What you would say is that the placement is not proportionate to the house and the property. I'm thinking that the board would want it at this location, and you're gonna have to show a screening along with that. And we'd like information from your neighbors, letters saying they have no problem with the
Uh-huh.
building being there.
What
Did you
lighting,
like
all the
that
things.
When this was set up that way, did you like it that way?
It put extra time on you as an individual, and it was more of a volunteer. Who would do it? The two people want to do it, one person?
See, to me,
Right.
that sort of defeats the purpose of, I mean, ideas kind of fly as we're going through this.
Mhm.
And here's the other thing. Oh, I should have answered that. Hold on. Call Dad. Oh, he doesn't answer his phone, call your brother. He might not answer his phone either, but anyway, what I was going to say is, I have a full-time job, you have a
Right.
full-time job, you have a full-time job. We don't know what you do.
I fish.
Or you, Earl. But for like the
What?
three of us, doing something like that is gonna be difficult to
Yeah.
find the
just
time in
thinking
our,
that.
in our hours, in our days.
Well, I feel like.
But I think you
yeah,
can do it.
I disagree because whatever advisement I would give would be very different from what these
Right.
two would give. So it would almost lend to a bias
Mhm.
of, well, you came so prepared and I might not know all the questions to ask and I.
Or
just-
you're looking at it from a different perspective
Totally
than
different. Yeah.
another person,
Yeah.
and like we kind of batted around a whole
Yeah.
bunch
If
of
the- if
stuff.
the
and
reviewer
I-
misses something. Then when
Still
you
a
come before the
mistake.
board,
So why did you get rid of it?
Mr. Boyce
Sheldon.
couldn't do it.
Oh, he said you couldn't do it.
You all have to see it all as a board, but then it's also,
That
What do you
makes
think?
sense.
Did
to
you-
me.
it does, but then if you think about it, the pre-applicate, all that, or not pre-app, the site. I mean, all of you should physically be at these sites and going to them, you know what I mean? That's the
I
other.
tried to get to. each
Yes,
one.
absolutely. I mean, so this is what I'm coming out of all of this, just personally. I'm picking up on the things that you have all required, and I'm just gonna start letting applicants know this is gonna be the situation. Just be prepared, do this now. So I'm getting the, pine trees, not the deciduous or we went deciduous, right?
Well, but
And
here's the thing too, Katrina. I don't want the onus of this to fall onto you, because, for as much information as you have in your brain, that's not the role you were hired for,
You're not the
Yeah.
gatekeeper.
right?
But I am.
But you should be the gatekeeper for, I need a site plan. I need your money. I need this. I need that. You should not be the person opening it up and saying, well, you want to put the barn here and they're gonna want to see it deciduous trees or non-deciduous tree. Like this should
Right.
be for you to have to determine or to discuss with people that
But
it's
I,
in our code.
I really do get where you're coming from, that there's a lot to ask for one person to,
right,
and then the back and forth for us. However, I feel like we get to know them and
Mhm.
maybe their true intentions by meeting with them, that if all this was taken care of pre-meeting,
They'd still
that.
come
we
they,
would-
yeah, they still come.
No, yeah, but I just feel like we would be like checking boxes just to check boxes that maybe.
And then you might hear
Right.
somebody say, well, that lead person told me that
Right.
it was
Sure.
completely fine, and
I
now.
think if you look at what occurred tonight,
Stop doing it.
Yeah.
in
Right, is because.
in 1 hour,
Mhm.
we gained a lot of ground in one lousy hour.
The guy's moving the thing back and he's angling it at a completely
Yeah.
different angle. And he's planting, like, come on, guys, I was gonna say woo-hoo to the planning board tonight, because we really did a great job on this one.
Are you gonna require a line of credit or a letter of credit on this one?
Yes,
Probably, yeah, absolutely,
Okay,
want to
Well-
be standard.
yes.
yep,
So
okay,
he's gonna have to do that too, but he didn't know anything about the screening at this point.
right. Okay,
And he knows about it because he heard us talking about it.
right. Okay,
With regards to that, I checked with the finance director. There is a escrow account set up at Canandaigua National Bank that we used for accounts before. I have to follow up with the town attorney to find out if we have to have a board resolution to give the planning board the power to set up the escrow account, because apparently it's an interest bearing account and the interest goes to the person that runs the escrow. So
That'd be
So-
great.
but I have a,
that way you guys, yeah. I mean,
Right.
it's $100,000, whatever, it goes into that bank.
Were you here?
Then it's money. It's.
There,
cash
thank you,
that goes there,
thank you,
whereas The letter of
yes.
credit is so much easier on the applicant.
it's like a credit card is the way I keep looking at it. You're only gonna use it if you use it.
100% with you, girl.
Whatever works.
The cash is there.
Sometimes people just don't ask the correct people to get the letter of credit.
I know.
They go to the wrong
Yeah,
location.
I've been doing this.
They
morning.
didn't go to
And
a,
that's not.
They didn't go to a commercial bank,
you just
right?
go to the commercial
Yes, that's
division
the job
of
of the planning board,
Canada.
tell them where to go.
And
So
that would
did
make
you-
it foolproof. That would let us use it for the purpose in which it was intended.
Right,
If you had to use it, there it would be.
But you do
Were
need to
you
keep
here when
this
Well,
cash.
That,
Planting trees.
when I said that this afternoon, I heard someone say that they wanted to plant trees and that they had called Bristol and the cost involved in planting a tree and installing it. So I mean, I think that, I know he thought that our number was way out of whack, but I think that we were pretty generous with not pushing it to the limit.
I think you hit it on the head, and it's the exact same thing as Lemon Green. It's not what they can do it for, it's what the town has.
What the town would have to do it for if it.
So the answer is, get it done if you don't want to put up.
Right.
I mean, that's a hard line, but
But then again, because we still are in our meeting and having a general discussion, the same point is, he was saying, I want to get it done and I don't want to put up the money. But we also know that this isn't the time to get it done, because if you don't, do we require a 1-year warranty bond after the year, after they're planted, so that we have guarantee that it stays that way,
you do on a commercial project.
right? So that might
This is
be,
a commercial.
See, that would be a problem in this case, because if you have Bristol come in and plant your trees, they'll stand behind it if it dies, but if he puts them in and they die, and he decides not to replace them,
right, so if he had a warranty bond that said that they would be good for a full 12 months after the install, then there would be some recourse if they all died, which I don't mean my plants always die, so.
But if you put them now, at the time of code inspection, the trees are still there, or they died, and he don't have any money posted anymore, because you put the trees in, they're all gone, you have no recourse.
You do it after the first frost.
May I say something?
Mhm.
When you talk about an escrow account, I'm just looking at the other side of it. So say it's me and I come before you and you're like, okay, Katrina, you've got to put $10,000 in a check and you're going to take it out of my account. It's going to go in there. Plus I also have to pay for all the landscaping. So it's kind of like a double hit you're asking, but with that letter of credit, they're not putting up money. It's money that's there to protect us if we need to draw on it. And it's not like I'm sorry, I'm just looking at it as from the person's aspect of look at, you know what I mean? It'd be
It's a piece of paper right there
correct,
that he's paying interest on, that dollar
right.
amount.
But if you
still
do,
has his
right,
Pocket full of money that he can do his work.
correct,
If he doesn't, the town could take the money out of here, then he pays the
Correct.
bank for that money.
correct. But if we're doing this escrow account, they're giving us cash and it goes in, plus they also need to spend that amount to also do the landscaping.
Correct.
And then you want to hold it a year longer if you have a warranty. So I'm just,
Don't necessarily hold it a year.
but you're saying it's a
Yeah.
double charge,
Well,
you know?
If you didn't, you
So
wouldn't have to
10
hold
would
it
not
the
cost
year
10,
after if
20.
he had a warranty bond.
Right.
So he would, in the escrow at the time of inspection, if everything met the conditions of the resolution, he would be refunded a check from the town,
Right.
plus interest would go back to the applicant. At which time you'd probably just change. You'd probably go, here's your check and here's the warranty bond that these trees are gonna last at least a year.
But do you see what I'm saying? Like we're taking cash from them, plus they also have to spend that same cash to go do the plantings. But with a letter of credit, then it's just there if they need it. We can still get it if we need to, and they still have their own money to go do the actual work. I'm just,
Thank you, yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
yeah, I mean, it
The
just because.
planning board's not asking for money, the planning board's asking for security. To make
Okay.
sure that it's done, it's up to them if it's one
I needed to hear, I
Well,
needed to hear that.
and in these two instances, and any other barn forward of the home, move your barn behind the house. And you don't have to do any of this. Like, then you're free. You can put it back there and do what you want with it.
As long as you meet the 2% or 1%.
Yep.
And I might be biased, but recently we've been before many planning boards. I don't think Mendon is a very hard line planning board compared to
No,
some other ones.
we're pretty cool.
There are some that are just brutal.
Mhm.
If we stick with the letter of credit at a $10,000, would the town board need to make that part of the
I would
requirements?
have to get that confirmed from Sheldon, but it's no different than Mendon Green or the solar farm or not, well, there is a difference because those were commercial.
The solar farm is a bad taste, because if you look at those trees, they're about that high.
The solar farms were replanted
Yep,
and the solar farms were put in at the correct height. The issue with the solar farm is they were moved 10 foot. And 10 foot went down in the slope. Yeah, so they, knock on wood, they should be to that height within the number of years. Correct me if I'm wrong, we gave them a break, didn't we?
it was
It
12
Supposed
foot.
to be 8 to 10 foot and we let them do 4 to 6 or something like
Yeah,
that.
4 to 6, it was 12 foot.
Yeah, it was 12 foot and we
Yeah.
gave them a break on the height.
Yeah.
And when they started complaining about the height of the trees. we said, if you don't like it, you can come back to the planning board and we can reconsider that 4 foot break we gave you on the trees planting. And the big boss said, we'll replant these trees, no worries. I get exactly what you're saying, you gotta listen with your heart, but you gotta act with your head.
Mhm.
Because you're gonna get, if you're too nice, you're gonna get stuck.
Well, and here, and right away, the red flag was, oh yeah, my neighbor's totally cool with this. They'll give me a letter because they want to do a barn in front of their house too, and then we can give them a letter. Okay, so we're still doing barns forward of the house and on the road. I mean, come on, no.
There's another, I talked to Corey today, there's another one coming up.
I heard, yeah.
Where?
And he told me, and I don't remember where.
Carolina, I think.
What's
on
the
that one.
process to make an amendment from the town code?
We would have to do a local law.
Okay,
So
Right. Before we do this, because we can just do chit chatting after the meeting, but Earl needs to go.
Oh, I don't need to know, I got other things to say, but we can move to adjourn.
Thank
You
you.
would have to petition the board. Board. You would have to do a local law, so it would be a.
It's a
5-month
process,
Process at least.
Okay.
but it's doable.
Yes, it's doable.
It's definitely doable.
Might not be a bad idea.
Okay, so our upcoming meeting may be December 6th. It
Yep.
may not be December 6th. As of right now, it's canceled, but we'll see.
I'm gonna-
Put in that spot?
They may come back.
Oh.
If they can get everything together by the 29th.
Which is they've got
Come
to.
back on the 6th, maybe?
Nope.
You guys have already made a
Done.
Oh,
decision.
that's right.
Yeah, he's done. He's gonna things are, the resolution remains. I'm done with it.
Right.
I need a second on Earl.
Okay, so Earl made a motion and, Nicole is going to second it and we're all going to be in favor?
Of
Any
closing.
opposed? Nope, okay.